Welcome, everyone. This is the SportsMemo TV. We are live 3:05 Eastern Standard Time on April 21st, 2022. And the full count show is exactly what you think it is. It's Major League Baseball. As you can tell, I'm sitting outside of Fenway Park. I love how those guys say that with that accent. I wish I had that accent. Probably would make me more attractive to listen to, but I don't. But what I do have is I have Ronald Cabang in the house and Kevin Thomas. Welcome to the show, guys, and without further ado, why don't we just plow right into the first game? And that first game is the St. Louis Cardinals are taking on the Miami Marlins, and this is Jordan Hicks making his first career start, guys. He's been a reliever for 114 appearances previous to this. He has a very solid ERA in the mid-threes, 3.52. He's going up against the Miami Marlins, who are not playing well. They got shut out last night by the Cardinals, 2-0. They lost 5-1 in the first game of this three-game series. Now the Cardinals are looking for the sweep, who are also in first place in the National League Central, playing what we know to be Cardinals baseball. They're 7-3 on the season, 5-4 with one push on the over/under. The Marlins, like I said, they've scored one run over the last two games, and I have some info I bet you guys don't know. Pablo Lopez got married on Monday to his longtime girlfriend, who he met when he was at the single A level. So congratulations to him. But I kind of know when I got married, and you guys probably got married, 2 or 3 days afterwards. You weren't really, well, I could be wrong. Maybe I was thinking about throwing a baseball. I have no clue, but with that kind of emotion and just getting married, I don't get it. I mean, I get it. Congratulations, but I don't get how he's going to perform tonight with an offense that is not hitting the ball. But I want to talk about Hicks, because Hicks is making his first start. I have reason to believe he's going to be on about a 60-pitch count, but he's got exceptional stuff, guys. I mean, really good stuff. His average exit velocity is 79.8, which is extremely low. That compares to Pablo's, which is close to 90. It's 89 miles an hour. Hard hit percentage. Hardly anybody barrels up the bat against Jordan Hicks, and this is going back since he's been in the majors as a reliever. He didn't pitch in 2020 because he opted out, and he only pitched into the month of May last year before getting hurt, and then elbow injury put him on the sideline for the rest of the year. So if anything, he is really rested. The Cardinals manager has had accolade after accolade about this kid, or young man, I should say. His barrel percentage is 10.3%. K percentage is way up there at 36%. That means more than 1 out of every 3 batters he faces, he Ks, and they sit down. Expected slugging percentage, just 189. So when compared to Pablo, and again, I'm happy for him that he got married. That's a great time in your life, period. But this may not be such a good time for him on the mound, especially knowing he's not going to get any run support. So I am on the St. Louis Cardinals here minus the money line. Let's turn it over to Ron Cabang, my good NBA friend. This is our third show together today, which is amazing because I don't know anybody that would want to be on a show with me that many times in a day. But he is. And why don't you tell us what you think of this matchup and where your leans or best bets might be, Ronald?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't know anything about him getting married and how that would affect this game. But to me, like you mentioned, Jordan Hicks, he's having his first start of his career, and from what I read, he's limited to about 45 pitches, but it could be 60. I don't know. This is something I just I read into the last night regarding Hicks. But obviously his numbers looks well off his first two outings here, but he pitched well against the Brewers and Royals. Didn't give up a run at all. But if you look at the Brewers and Royals bats, they really haven't been great at all. I think on base percentage, they're both in the bottom 10 in the MLB so far this season. Whereas the Marlins, even though you mentioned they aren't putting up runs, they do get on base. They're just not right now at this point not translating into runs. And Pablo, he was having a tough spring training, but he's bounced back. pitched really well, actually. Pretty dominant last season as well. He just didn't have the run support, like you mentioned. He was 5-5, even with a strong 3.07 ERA and 1.120. But I think in this spot here, I feel like the pitching advantage is on the Marlins. I think this is something where you might look at them in the first five. I think they could. I think the bats could probably take advantage of Hicks early.
Good stuff. Ronald, that's probably the second time ever that we've been on opposite sides. But our job here in this show, as you said on the NBA show, we're here to provide information and handicapping facts. How we handicap games, how a professional breaks down a game to identify potential best bets. It doesn't, we're not always on the same side, and sometimes we actually bet our money on different sides. But at the end of the day, we're all very successful at what we do, or we would not be doing this. Let's turn this over to Kevin Thomas here. Welcome, Kevin. I love the Phillies hat here.
Hey, thank you for
they
having
finally
me.
got off the snide last night. They're now 4-8
No, I didn't
on the
wear my
season.
hat. I didn't wear the hat yesterday. That was the jinx there. I took the hat off and they got
Hey,
the win.
keep doing
so.
it then. I mean, yeah, we'll just watch the shows from now on, and when you don't have the hat on, we'll bet Phillies as a show best bet. But seriously, in this matchup of teams that seem to be heading in opposite directions, where do you see the opportunity?
I always believe the Marlins have an underrated pitching staff, and they've always been trouble to my Phillies. But what lies here is the Cardinals bullpen. The Cardinals are 7-3 for a reason. That bullpen is probably the tops in the NL, maybe the tops in all of baseball. I don't even think they've given up an earned run yet in 12 innings. So even if Hicks gets you 4, I think they want him to go 4 innings. I don't know if he's on a pitch count. I know they were trying to get 4 out of him. If he can go more than that, great. But this bullpen, they step up for this. These Cardinals, they're usually at the end of the season where they come alive and make the postseason all the time. But they got enough guys like Goldschmidt and Arenado. These guys want to win, so I'm leaning towards the under 7.5. The Marlins aren't scoring enough runs, and I think that bullpen comes in and keeps this game low. I'm looking at maybe a 3-4 game here on either team, but my money would be on the under 7.5.
Yeah, while you were talking, you're right about the bullpen. There's no question, and Giovanni Gallegos, Ryan Helsley, and TJ McFarland, they've combined for 12 and a third innings and a 0.00 ERA between the three of them. All three of those guys are available tonight for what that's worth. But we've broken down that game. Let's move on to the second game here, and that second game is the just give me a second to get it here. There we are. Let's go on to the Texas Rangers Seattle matchup. This is at 9:40 p.m. T-Mobile Park is the location. Taylor Hearn 0-1 with an ERA of 4.70 for one start. Marco Gonzalez making his third start of the year, 1-1 on the season, ERA of 3.00. Texas is playing exactly how we thought they would play. They're 2-9. 3-8 against the run line, which means they are getting blown out in these games. And when you lose by 2 or more runs consistently, I think that by definition is getting blown out. They've won only one time in 5 tries on the road. Conversely, Seattle has lost only once in 5 home games. It looks to me like this is a pretty easy look at the Seattle Mariners, but who knows? I might be wrong. Let's start off with Ronald Cabang and see what he thinks on this matchup.
Yeah, I think the Rangers, I believe, is starting Taylor Hearn. He has a nice strikeout to walk ratio. Has a big discrepancy between his ERA and the FIP. 4.70 ERA versus a 1.62 FIP, and that really has to do with the strikeout to walk ratio. But the thing about the Mariners, I mean, obviously they're not hitting at a high clip as far as team batting average, but they don't strike out a lot. So there's an opportunity here for the Mariners to get some base hits here in their home field. As far as the Mariners, starting Marco Gonzalez, he had a great bounce back game against the Astros after giving up 3 homers in just 2 innings in his first start of the season to the Twins. I think the Mariners, to me, will be able to manage some runs on Taylor pretty early. They've really been hitting well in the last 6 games, minus the shutout they had against Verlander. they're averaging about 6.5 runs per game in the 5 wins, their last 5 wins. And to me, I think this is a spot here where the Mariners could actually finish off the series with a sweep. I think you're on mute, John.
I can't hear him either.
John, I think you're on mute, bud.
Yeah, I accidentally hit that. Yep.
Fenway weather.
It's the producer. We gotta get the producer to wake up, and well, he's probably doing like 3 shows simultaneously, so that's probably the reason why. But maybe I'm not interesting anymore. 4 shows, I guess my interest wanes. But anyway, seriously, Kevin Thomas, are you gonna make this a sweep on the show here on Seattle?
No.
But I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench into this. The line right now is -126. These teams are like vastly different. Why? It bothers me that it's so cheap.
That's what I'm looking at, John. I saw the 22% of the public is on the Rangers, and that line opened at 130 and dropped to a 110. That puts me all over this Rangers. I don't care if they're 2-9. Hearns, he's decent. I mean, he gives up hits, but it's the runs. And then let's look where he's pitching. Arlington. I can name the 3 worst fields for pitchers, and that's, well, Philly might be one about now, but Texas, Coors Stadium, and Baltimore. They're horrible for pitchers. So he keeps the ball in the ground. Seattle is a pitcher's dream. So Marco might be a little overinflated here. I'm going to go with the Rangers. Maybe someone's out we don't know about, but when you see the public all over a team and it drops 20 points like that, you take the Rangers. You might not go big on it, but I'm going to go on it. I'm going to take the Rangers for sure.
Well, because of the exchange of information, which is the most powerful commodity I know of on the planet, I am now on the fence. As Steve Merrill would say, I am the new Swiss Miss of the MLB Full Count show. But seriously, I mean, that's what handicapping is all about. You have to have an
it's
open
impressive
mind
what Marco did against the Astros. Not to interrupt, but it is impressive. But I don't think they were all playing. I think, isn't Altuve out? Hasn't he been
Altuve is out? Yep.
So I can't say all. I like dogs. I like the dogs. I like dogs.
Yeah, we all like the dogs. That's for sure. Let's take a look at this last game, and this is I guess what was a surprise Chicago Cubs start to the season. They're now 6-6 on this season. Run line is 8-4 though. So in the games they have won, they have basically blown out their opponent. They're 6-5 with 1 push on the over/under. Pittsburgh comes into this game 5-7. They have Bryce Wilson on the hill, 5.40. In my humble opinion, he's a lot better than advertised. They are 4th in the National League Central, and this is a divisional matchup, obviously. Mark Leiter Jr. gets the start for the Cubs. Weather, I don't know what the weather is in Chicago, but this time of year, that's something you always want to look at. And if I remember right from this morning, the weather is going to be pretty windy. And I don't know whether the wind is blowing out, which is critical. If there's a total posted like under 10, then the wind is probably blowing in. If it's 10 or above, then I'll look at that after Kevin Thomas gives us his breakdown of this game.
I know the Cubs are the favorite here, and I tend to look at whatever else I can pick here. I don't have a side on here. If I had a side, I would take the Cubs, and it's for one reason. Saiki Suzuki, this Japanese MVP, came to America, and everybody passed on this guy except the Cubs. Kudos to them. This kid is a stud. He's gonna win Rookie of the Year and maybe MVP also. And he's a difference maker. He makes those guys hit better, which will roll into my best bet later. It's with this team. But that kid, he's a game changer. I don't think Wilson and Mark Leiter matter at all in this game. I mean, Mark Leiter has all the pedigree in the world, but I seen him pitch for the Phillies, and it wasn't great. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Cubs here on the money line if I had to make a pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. That kid is something special. Just have a few metrics on him. Launch angle 13.8. Optimal is 17. Exit velocity is 93.3, which is tied for the team lead with Wilson Contreras. Hard hit percentage 48%. Contreras and Ian Happ are in the mid-50s, but the season is still very young. Suzuki is tops with expected weighted on base average of 477, which is considerably ahead of anybody else on the team. And his speed is elite and walk percentage. I guess he is, he's getting a lot of walks too, so he has a very, very good eye and is selective at the plate. Let's turn it over to Ronald Cabang and see what he has for us on this matchup.
Yeah, I agree with Kevin here. I think the only way that I look is towards the Cubs here. Obviously, the Pirates, they're sporting a solid, batting average as a team. They're just really struggling to turn those hits into runs. They lack home run power, but on the Cubs side, you have home run potential throughout the lineup. Especially, I think they moved Suzuki actually like up and down the lineup, if I remember correctly. Last time I seen him, he was down in like seventh in the order. As far as the pitching matchup, I think Bryce Wilson. You mentioned he's a little bit better than what his numbers show, but I still don't think he's that great of a starter here, especially against a Cubs team that could put up home runs the way that they do. He's given up 2 home runs and 5 runs in 8.1 innings, and just only sporting a 1-1 strikeout to walk ratio in his first 2 starts. As far as Mark Leiter, obviously you mentioned his pedigree. He hasn't started, I believe, since 2017. So his first start of the season was his first start since then. I think obviously the Cubs were dealing with a whole bunch of injuries, so they called him up. He's pretty much just a fill-in starter. But if you look at his numbers during the spring training, he actually did pretty well. I think it was just 1 earned run on 9.2 innings pitch and a 10 to 4 strikeout to walk ratio. So he's definitely a capable pitcher here, and I think the biggest difference maker though are the Cubs bats. So to me, I would lean towards the Cubs.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think the bullpens are also pretty even, and it just seems like I've enjoyed watching baseball, but at the same time, I can understand why those the old timers that are saying that the game has really kind of regressed, at least in the beginning of this season, because it is long games. And not really all that much action, to be honest. I just heard, too, the minor league game that they're testing out that shot clock, which is the pitch clock, where the pitch has to be made within a certain amount of seconds. They played a minor league game, 9 innings, in 1 hour and 57 minutes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Now, you guys are about the same age as me, but I can remember going to games with my dad in Philadelphia where if it was like Steve Carlton on the hill, I mean, I could barely even get my third dose of ice cream and funnel cake before the game was over. And I think we need to get back to that. These games just go on and on and on. That's what makes the NBA so good, matter of fact, because if you think about it, going to an NBA game, Kevin Thomas lives in the Philadelphia area. He can take his family to the game, get seated, get some food, pay $500 for the food and the drink. That's probably pretty close, actually.
Yeah. No.
And but you're out of there in 2 hours, and you get right back on 95 and or the Turnpike, and you're gone. In baseball, I mean, it's 3 hours, and a lot of that time there is nothing going on. Football, okay, you have the huddles, but there's all kinds of excitement going on. Players coming in and out of the game. Just a whole lot more movement going on. Whereas baseball is like the ball gets thrown back to the pitcher. He looks for the sign. That takes at least a minute. And then he throws. So I'm being a little sarcastic today, but I wish the game was played a little bit faster and maybe a little bit more drama in it. But I know it's a Major League Baseball game, but before we get to best bets, what do you guys think of the NBA playoffs so far? I will tell you this, Kevin Thomas, and I want your opinion on this, if you don't mind, putting you right on the spot here. They call it the hot. What's that show in Major League Baseball? Not the hot plate. You're on not the hot seat. Anyway, I goofed that one. But in the NBA last night, we had a game where the Toronto Raptors were favored by 1 point for the first half, but they were a 2-point underdog for the game. And I haven't seen that in at least a decade. And I checked the database as far back as I go, which is not very far for first half lines. And it is very, 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 very rare. However, we have two games tonight that fits. Do you think the market's telling us something like because that worked perfectly last night? If you would have bet Toronto first half because they were favored, you would have won the money, and if you would have bet Sixers full game, you would have won. So Golden State happens to be the team you fade tonight in the first half, and you bet them full game. Think it repeats?
What I look at is when the Sixers were down, I went on to DraftKings and I made a bet because they start getting the plus digits. No way the Sixers should have won that game. I'm good friends with very sharp bettors who were complaining to me and I went on the total because I was like, this could go on. I almost bet on overtime. I was like, this could go overtime, and I bet on the total. And then I went over, and I knew that my thinking was Thibault out. The Raptors are going to be able to score. That's going to open up. No, not as great a defense, even though Embiid's the best defender on that game. But my thing is, if you want to bet like that, wait till the game's being played because then you want to take advantage of that. Because when you saw that the Raptors were getting 2 or whatever it was, that's telling you that the odds makers think the Raptors are going to win that game easy.
Mm-hmm.
So and the way the Sixers came out playing, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be a blowout. I thought it was over, but it is too much momentum now. That series is over.
Mm-hmm.
But the Warriors, same thing. I mean, they're going into Denver, and the Warriors are a great team, but Denver still has probably the best player in the big man, and he's at home in desperation. So I would wait till halftime on that too. If the Warriors are down at halftime, or even if the Nuggets, I'd bet the opposite, whoever's down, because that's going to be a battle till the end.
Yeah, I like that strategy. What do you think, Ronald?
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think, especially in the playoffs with how teams are down 0-2, they're playing with a lot of desperation, like you guys said, and so that gives them a lot to play for, especially early in the game. But the longer the game is played, obviously the better team as a unit, as a whole team, will probably end up winning the game, and that's why you see the lines being so sharp as far as the dogs being favored in the first half, and then the team that actually is favored possibly win the game towards the end. Just the whole idea behind the depth of them and just the overall skill level of the team as a whole. Obviously, you mentioned Jokic as an MVP, but right now he's not getting any help. He can get a triple double and still lose. It's just like that at the moment. But bringing it back to baseball, maybe we'll see some times when we'll see a dog favored in the first 5, and the team who's favored obviously end up winning the game. So that might be a look that we need to monitor moving forward in the MLB season.
Yeah, that's a great call, Ronald, because Rob Vino, Wager Talk, we're gonna start up the Manny's Pub Show again. That usually starts around 4:30 or 5, and it's supposed to be like a friendly pub atmosphere. You're talking to your buddies about sports and who you're going to bet on. But there were several occasions where he was really good with unders first 5. So when he was right, sometimes these scores were 1-0, 2-1. So then what do? Being the Wall Street guy, I step in and bet the over live in game, which was sometimes 4.5. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing how many times that actually hit on both occasions. So just keeping an eye out even on the games tonight that are 2-1, 1-0 after 5, and see what the live in-game total is, because the pitching as a whole is not that good. The bullpens are not as good as we're seeing with their 2.97 ERAs. And I just think there's going to be a flurry of home runs over the next foreseeable future. Let's put it that way.
And everyone's on a pitch count. Everyone's on a pitch count, so you can take advantage of them pulling the pitcher early. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the Dodgers, Kershaw. Mm-hmm. There was no reason to pull him.
That was a wild game. That was pretty crazy.
He's one of my favorite pitchers of all time, and I was kind of bummed. But at the same time, what looks better on his resume for the Hall of Fame, another World Championship or a perfect game? Probably another World Championship. So, I get Davey Roberts did the right thing. He's had back troubles. He's not 24 years old anymore, and What can you say? It's done and over with.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the best bet segment now. We'll just go right around the horn. We'll start with Kevin, then Ronald, and then myself.
Yeah, I'm going back to that Cubs game, and like we talked about Suzuki there, he's the difference maker, and all he has to do is get on base. Now it all depends where now that Ronald said that he's been batting all over. I haven't really been following that. I thought he was batting second or third. If he's batting third, you want to take Ian Happ at plus 140 for an RBI. If he's batting under him, then you want to go to Hayward. You can get an RBI at plus 180. He's going to score, and one of those two guys are going to hit him in depending where he is in the lineup. But I think if he's 2 or 3, you got to go Happ. If he's under Happ, then you go with Hayward for a good thing. And then don't forget, over at Sports Memo, till Sunday, you can get Kevin Thomas 7 days, $69. You just go KT69 code, $69, all my picks for 7 days. And tonight I got my trifecta. And always my trifecta is my 3 best picks for each sport: hockey, baseball, and basketball. As always, good luck. Thank you.
Awesome stuff, Kevin. Ronald, what's your best bet for the show?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go back to that Cubs game too. I think the Cubs can take advantage of Bryce Wilson early. I would look towards the Cubs in the first 5 to come out of that first half with a lead actually. So I think you can get first 5 minus a half at minus 110. So I think that would be my play. And as far as what I have going on at Sports Memo today, I actually have 3 NBA games and 3 MLB games. And actually the Cubs first 5 is one of them. So you guys are getting a free one there. So go head over to Sports Memo, just check stuff out and see what's available from all the cappers there.
Well done. And yours truly here. I'm going to do some player props because I believe it was Kevin that got me thinking about Texas. So I've been a Corey Seager fan for a while, and I think he's due for a home run. And these are pizza money bets, guys and gals. This is not, 4%ers, 3%ers. This is pizza money bet meant to be fun. In fact, all of betting should be fun. If it's not fun, you're betting too much money. Either that or you just don't know how to win and you need to watch some more of our shows. But anyway, Corey Seager plus 310. Actually, no, plus 460 at FanDuel to hit a home run. And Marcus Semien, I also like it plus 380 at FanDuel to hit a home run, even though it's not at Arlington, it's in Seattle. I think this Texas team only getting 25% of the love right now. I think I think they outperform who they really are tonight, and I'm willing to bet pizza money. And if I lose both of them, I just won't eat pizza the rest of the week. And, that's fine. So we have come to the end of the show, and I guess what I have going on at Sports Memo, and I did this on the show earlier, Kevin, with the NBA with Ronald, and I lowered my voice, and I'm 6-0, NBA streak, 10-1 the last 11, and 69% the last 58 best bets in the NBA. So I don't want the betting guys to hear, but I want the customers to hear so they get over there. And they get my NBA best bet tonight for just $9. $9.
Some good stuff.
So, a lot of fun, gentlemen. Glad that you laugh at my humor because somebody has to, right? And you guys aren't even getting paid to do it. So, tomorrow we will be back with another triple-double show hosted by the great and illustrious Joe D'Amico and his bride, Dion. I'm not sure who the guests are, but we will find that out later. Triple-double tomorrow with myself and Ronald Cabang as usual, airing around noon, recorded fashion. He and I are going live Monday, which will be really fun, and that will be airing
I'm excited
at
for
noon.
that one.
You bet, man. That's going to be a blast. So until then, remember 2 things. Bet with your head, not over it, and may all the wins be yours. Thanks a lot for watching, and get those subscriptions.